Templeton, is this sound like it's on? Okay. At this time, I'd like to call this special town meeting to order. Thank you. I'd like to go over some safety items before we start. In the event of a fire or any type of evacuation, we have exits behind you where most everyone came in, over to my left and right, and out the front door is your fastest, quickest way. I'd like everyone to silence their phones at this time so we can have a nice orderly meeting. And I am going to put in the 3 times up, 2-minute rule, which I'm going to explain that again a little bit later. All right, at this time, can we all rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd just like to let you all know this is the constable's warrant, was served properly and returned properly. All right, at this time, can we take a moment of silence for afflicted and recently departed residents of Templeton, especially Erica Habel, who was the staff here at the school. And calling hours are going to be tomorrow in Gardner at Boucher Funeral Home on 53 Nichols Street. So just a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. I was going to get vote counters, but we only have like 50-something people. So I think we'll wait and see if we need them. So as far as the rules, with the mics, so advisory down here in select board, your mics, you can turn them on and off. The ones that you'll be using, if you come up for comments or questions, TCTV is controlling them, so they will turn them on and turn them off as needed. All right. So the 3 times up, 2-minute rule is per article, and I don't hold you to it if you're asking legitimate questions. I'm not trying to stop people from asking questions. So if you come up and you have a couple of questions, you don't have to ask one, turn around and get back in line. Just say, Mr. Moderator, I have 3 questions, and I'll let you ask them and get your answers, and that way you'll be all set. If you got 4, tell me you got 4. I'm not against that. I'm just trying to keep everything moving. Okay, we got Mike and Adam with awards.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Town Administrator is going to join me. It gives me great pleasure on behalf of the Select Board to issue the 2024 Special Merit Awards and Special Recognition or Pinnacle of Excellence Awards this evening. So if I could first ask Linda O'Reilly, if you're in the room, if you could come up, please. Hi, Linda. If you want to stand right here, I'm going to go ahead and read your award. Adam's got the best part of it, though. Okay, this is a Special Merit Award for fiscal year 2024. This is to recognize Linda O'Reilly for efficiency. Linda displays a commitment to kindness, integrity, and efficiency. Linda has, quote, has been instrumental in keeping the senior center activities going even without having a senior center manager for some time. Additionally, she most recently has committed to training to become a new SNAP outreach partner so that she can further assist our seniors and community members in need of this benefit. Outstanding. Signed, Select Board Chair Mike Curry, October 23rd, 2024. Thank you very much. Thank you, Linda. Yep. Jessica Case. If Jessica, oh, there she is. Check, check. There we go. It's got a little bit of a loose base. Okay, this is Jessica is here for our second Special Merit Award.
I know.
Who would have thought?
Oh, my goodness.
So this is our second Special Merit Award for fiscal year 2024. This is to recognize Mrs. Jessica Case for communications. Jessica displays care, engagement, and preparedness. She is fully engaged with the activity at hand and gives the board or committee members with great feedback. Signed, Mike Curry, Select Board Chair, October 2023, and Adam has your check. Okay, for our third and final award, Carol Harris. Here you go. Here you go. All right, Carol. This is our pinnacle of excellence for employee for fiscal year 2024. This is to recognize Carol Harris. Carol displays dedication and consistency. Quote, Carol excels in the performance of her duties as town clerk and runs the office with a dedication to serving all residents. She is consistent, responsive, and proactive. Signed, Mike Curry, Select Board Chair, October 23rd, 2024. Thank you very much for the town's... Nope, I was going to bring the microphone that way. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, up next, Article 1.
Mr. Moderator, Article 1, amending the FY25 operating budget submitted by the Select Board, majority vote required. I move to amend the FY25 operating budget by reducing the sum budgeted for debt service by $24,076.00 to $2,076,918.
Seconded.
Second, thank you. Advisory?
Advisory recommends a yes vote on Article 1 by a vote of 5-0.
Excuse me. Excuse me, point of order,
Excuse,
point of order.
what's your point of order?
I want the moderator to acknowledge how many members are here tonight. Since
There are 53 people.
there's 53 people?
Yes, 53.
That are members of the community? That are
There are 59 registered voters, sir.
59?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Moderator, who's this speaking? Didn't introduce.
I know, and I haven't even...
Well, I'll introduce myself. My name is Steve Drury. I live on 18 Drury Lane, Templeton, Mass.
All right, all right. I would like to open up questions and comments to Article 1.
Mr. Moderator, Robert May, 137 Shady Lane.
Yes, sir, go ahead, please.
I would like to amend Article 1 by adding and transferring said sum to OPEX stabilization.
Do you have that in writing and signed?
Yes, I do.
All right. All right.
Mr. Moderator, excuse me, did we get a second on that?
No, we need a second. We got a second, okay. All right, so would you like to read that again so everyone understands what your amendment is? Because then we're going to have to do some,
Could I have it back?
well,
The whole thing.
My amendment to the Article 1 is by adding to the end of the present article and transferring said sum to OPEX stabilization.
all right, I'd like to open up questions. Well, actually, we have to vote, right? We'll talk about first, yeah. Yeah, questions and comments on the amendment to Article 1.
Mr. Moderator, again,
Robert Manning, 137 Shady Lane. I put forth the amendment
because last year we took out $430,000 out of the stabilization account to support the budget, and we're putting $95,000 in if all goes well in this meeting. I don't think that's a sustainable amount for what we have ahead of us. And I think that this money, rather than just floating over to the general fund and being expended, should go to refill in some form or fashion the stabilization account that had the $430,000 withdrawn from it last year. And that's my point. Otherwise, it doesn't need to go to the general fund. It could go to OPEX stabilization.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the amendment to Article 1?
Yeah, my name is Steve Drury, 18 Drury Lane. The operation budget, is this just for the town? And what does that consist of? What departments? So forth.
Does anyone have an answer?
Adam Lamontagne, Town Administrator. I'm sitting up front, just some folks complained that I was in the back, so just for full disclosure, why I'm up front. So basically with this, it's just, we received a subsidy on one of the debts, so it's just a wash off. So basically what happens is with excluded debt is it's applied to our revenues, so this would essentially be a wash as presented, but if Mr. May wants to move the money to the stabilization, that's up to town meeting to do that. So it's just we received a discount, so we're just lowering the debt number, our overall budget.
Okay, well, if I may
Do you have another question, or did you not answer it?
No, he didn't answer. I'm confused with his answer, only because the fact is that it doesn't describe particulars in the sense that, this is for that, and he's talking about debt, Mr. Monitor, he's talking about a debt and adding to it, and I don't even know what the debt is, and so I get confused with the numbers, only that the fact that this is an increase to whatever he's adding to the coffers, and I don't understand the actual question, because I don't know where I stand. I don't know where I stand as a taxpayer, or how much money I'm given to this cause, or how much is needed even, for that matter. So that's my comment.
Beverly Bartolomeo, 686 South Road. I agree with Mr. May's amendment because it gives town meeting more control over how the money is spent during the year. That way it doesn't get frittered away. We have some financial problems heading our way, and I think we're going to find ourselves back in 2003 again, because nothing ever changes. Things that are wrong don't get fixed. We have someone working for us for 10 years that can't pass a test, that's going to bite us big time. Where's that money coming from? So I think that it is a good move to vote on this. Thank you.
Yeah, 18 Drury Lane, Steve Drury again. I have one other issue about the municipal light department. We're supposed to basically...
This is operating budget.
No, it's not. It's not a separate budget. It's a municipality to Templeton.
There's a point of order. Hold on. Can I hear your point of order, please?
What did you say?
Was this related to the question?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. This is operating budget. It has nothing to do with light.
You don't understand. You're asking the taxpayers for money, right?
No, we're not.
You're not asking the taxpayers for money? No. So this is money that's already in the account?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, go ahead, please.
if I may make a clarification here.
Name?
Oh, I apologize. Matthew Rivard, Select Board. To clarify what this article is doing, originally, in the budget for this fiscal year, we appropriated for debt service $2,100,994. Quick calculation. We are reducing that number by $24,076 tonight because because to Mr. Lamontagne's point, we received some backing on debt that we had. Okay, so that money without the amendment would go into the general fund, which at the end of the year would go to certified free cash at the end of the year. Okay, as amended now, where this is asked, Mr. Drury is asking that this go to the OPEX. I'm sorry, my apologies. Mr. May is asking that this go to the OPEX stabilization fund, which again he is correct in that we pulled that money out. We used that money to help support the general budget last year. But just to clarify, this is money that has been appropriated that basically we're giving back. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you for that explanation. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Moderator, Mike Dixon, 465 Patriots Road. I like the idea of the substitute. I just wanted to make sure of one thing. This is not in place of the $95,000 in Article 12. It's actually in addition to. Is that correct?
I believe, yes.
Mr. Moderator?
By making this amendment, yes.
That was correct.
That would be correct. That this would be in addition to what we would appropriate and move in Article 12 to the CapEx stabilization fund.
Go ahead, sir.
Mike Curry, 491 Hubbardston Road. As an olive branch, I fully agree with Deb's characterization. This is an opportunity for town meeting to be able to help control where the money goes and where it becomes visible. I recognize that part of this process, and I'm speaking as a resident, I recognize that part of this process, people don't wake up and call town hall and say, hey, could you tell me again how you certify free cash? I want to understand how this works and where the money spent by the town or not spent by the town goes. So Mr. May's amendment and Bev's backup of that, I could get behind that. I understand what their ideas are. I support it.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead,
Steve
sir.
Drury, 18 Drury Lane. I want to speak to the fact that since we've made some inquiries and voiced this particular question, we've revealed that it wasn't clear. I want everyone to understand that the question's not clear, and we had to clarify things. And
I thought it was pretty clear, sir.
Excuse me?
I said I thought it was pretty clear.
Well, it isn't, because it had to be respectively spoken to, and where the money went, and what it was coming to, and even the fact that it may be involved in another article. So that's why we're confused. We get confused because the writers are writing things that we don't know. So when we ask questions, as I did, we're trying to figure out what is, because we're all on.
So do you have a question on this article?
As I said, my question is, I'm going to question you, Mr. Moderator. right now.
Okay, what's your question to me?
Do we have a right to speak to issues here at the
Yes,
meeting?
on the article that we're...
On articles, yes, on
that we are
articles.
presently speaking about.
On all articles, we have a right to ask questions and to
Yes,
speak our minds to the article.
as we go through the articles, sir, do not argue with me.
I'm not
Those are the
arguing.
rules. Read the rules.
I did read the rules.
Okay, then you should know that.
You have to understand that I can't go to a town meeting because I'm restricted to 3 minutes. So when I come here,
Well, sir, you're the only one that's been up 3 times now. No one else has come up with that many times.
well, I'm glad you're paying attention because
I
I'm going
am.
to come up a few more times.
Not
But
on
the
this
fact of the
not on
matter
this
is that's
article,
my
you're
right.
not. Not on this article, you're not. This is your last time up, sir.
Well, I object to that.
Well, that's too bad.
Oh, yeah?
Point of order, go ahead. Go on, yes. That is the rule, sir. And I told you in the beginning, if you had more than one question, and you told me outright, I would let you.
You do
But
not
you
have
did
a
not.
right to
Yes, I do
stop
have the right.
questions.
I do have the right.
Oh, yeah? Well, we'll see. Well, later, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see later.
Yes, we will.
Are there any more questions or comments on Article 1 on the amendment? Okay, we're going to go to vote.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, sir?
just a point of order. It's Article 1 as amended at this point.
Yes, it's the amendment to Article 1. We got to vote on that, and then we have to vote on the actual article. So, the amendment to the article, where it's by adding and transferring said sum to OPEX stabilization, submitted by Robert May. All in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. Okay, that amendment passed at 6:24. Okay. Now, on the main Article 1, are there any more questions or comments on that Article 1, the main motion? Because we have to vote on that. Okay, Article 1, all in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, that article passed at 6:25. Article 2, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 2. I move to transfer $95,000 and no cents from sewer retained earnings to the general fund.
Second, thank you. Advisory?
Advisory recommends a yes vote on Article 2 with a vote of 5-0.
Okay, I'd like to open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 2.
Mr. Moderator, Robert May, 137 Shady Lane. I have a substitute article for this one, and it reads like such. To see if the town will vote to transfer $95,000 from sewer retained earnings to OPEX stabilization account.
Okay, and so you have that signed?
Second.
Okay, can I get a second on that?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to make any comments while you're here? Because it's your...
Yeah, I was going to say, the only
amendment.
comment I'd like to make is the same basic reiteration of what I said earlier, is just to replenish the OPEX stabilization fund, because I believe we're going to need it. And just throwing it into the general fund leaves it spendable, and no town meeting control. Thank you.
Okay, yep. Any questions or comments? I'm going to open the floor up to the amended article on Article 2.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Mike Curry, 491, speaking as Select Board. I don't agree with this amendment because if you recall at annual town meeting, this was so that the sewer could finish the fiscal year in the black, and this $95,000 was going back to the town. So this is to repay how we helped the sewer department.
Okay, thank you. Question, comment?
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate, Mr. Curry is correct in the verbiage about last year we borrowed we lent the money to the sewer for the roof. But my point is that if we didn't, that $95,000 would be free cash. And we wouldn't have had to take out, or we wouldn't have had to necessarily use the 430. We could have used, 335. Just saying, it's return money, same. As you said.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on Article 2 or the amendment?
Beverly Bartolomeo, South Road, Templeton. All the money, I should have brought my canes, I'm sorry. All the money that we're talking about here is your money. This is your tax dollars. Thanks. So it's not the select board's money, it's not the advisory board's money, it's your money. If it goes back into the stabilization or the stabilization OPEX, wherever it goes, it gives you, the people, a chance to vote on how it's used. If it goes into free cash, you really don't have a say. So that's something you should think about, and I appreciate support on this article. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir, please.
Mike Dixon, 465 Patriots Road. So if my math is right in round numbers, if Article 12 passes as written, we're going to have $119,000 in the OPEC fund. I guess my question is, how much money is normally in the OPEC fund? Is it $400,000? Is it $20,000? I don't know.
Does anyone have any answer?
I do.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. 491, speaking on behalf of the Select Board. So OPEX stabilization, there was a little bit of information that was given out by the people offering the amendments, and that is, everything that they've said is true. We were about $1.6 million as we were heading into town meeting. So during the annual town meeting, we had a budget shortfall, and we chose to use 22% to help out the school to make sure that they didn't have massive layoffs. If people went down annual town meeting, they would have understood that. But to answer your question even more precisely, we always, our financial management policy, as you'll see later in this meeting, dictates that a certain amount of money every time goes into that. Mm-hmm. Where we have more, yes, we endeavor to put more money in that. Historically, we have not had stabilization at all. I can remember a time on the coming into the select board and sitting with Will Spring on advisory committee, we had zero or very, very few dollars. And that was about, I would say about 10 years ago that we started to build that back. There is DLS recommendations for what you're doing in our financial management policy for making contributions to it. But again, it's town meeting deciding how do we dip into that account and CapEx and any of the other stabilizations that we have. So we've been consistently making contributions to it. And if we're looking at about 1.2, 1.3 million, we're still, in my opinion, in a very good spot.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on Article 2 or the amendment? Go ahead, please.
Mr. Moderator, Robert May, 137 Shady Lane again. I hope what Mr. Curry says is correct, but I've heard about $400,000 needed for Royalston Road. I've heard Mr. Kaplis at the advisory committee meetings talk about overrides, the annual town meeting coming. I think rather than putting the $95,000, which is one of the lowest amounts we put into the stabilization account in the time that it's been alive, putting in, well, I think Mr. Dixon's quoted it as about $119,000. So $119,095, we'll be putting in $214,000 rather than the 95, which I think the 1.4 is a whole lot better place to be than 1.2 if we're looking at overrides and $400,000 for this. And we got an article in this that if it passes, there's $288,000 that we don't have funding for. So I say stabilization.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Liz Toth, Gray Road. I believe the town's piggy bank should be much bigger than it actually is. So I completely disagree with Mr. Curry in saying that, it's great, it has plenty of money. No, it does not. We're going to be hitting some really hard times coming up over the next few years, and we need a much larger piggy bank. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Adam Lamontagne, 17 Cherry Street. Guess I'm speaking as a resident. So if Article 12 were to pass, we're looking at a $95,000 deposit there. We just put in $24,000 roughly. So between those two alone, we're going up to $1.342 million. And if we add another $95,000, we'll be upwards of $1.437 million, just for information purposes. So, I mean, it's really up to town meeting. I get both points, so it's really the prerogative of town meeting, Mr. Moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions or comments on Article 2 or the amendment? Go ahead, please.
Steve Drury, 18 Drury Lane, Templeton, Mass. I'm not going to form a question. I'm going to answer as a comment. I believe we should be able to vote where we're going to go with our money and what we're going to do with our money and where the money should go in importance. And this is a directive to this takes away our right to do that. And I disagree with that in its totality. I don't like anyone telling me that the coffers are going to be emptied for any purpose that I can't vote on. And in this case, that's how I feel in all cases, actually. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the amendment to Article 2?
Hi, Julie Richard, Orchard Lane, Templeton, Mass. I'm speaking as a resident, not advisory committee member. In 2015, we had no money. In OPEX, general fund, you name it. We had nothing. Nothing. We almost went into a receivership. We are doing very well in 2024, and I think the people of this town should recognize that.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions or comments on Article 2, the amendment? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to vote on Article 2 with the amendment, and I'll read it to you so everyone's clear. To see if the town will vote to transfer the $95,000 from sewer retained earnings to the OPEX stabilization account. This is the amendment to Article 2. We're going to vote on that first, then we'll vote on the main motion. All right, all in favor of the amendment to Article 2, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Okay. That amendment passed at 6:36. Okay, now we have to vote on Article 2, the main motion. Are there any other questions or comments on the main motion before we vote on it?
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I'm a little confused because that was a substitute motion, not an amended motion.
I think.
Tom Harrington, Town Council. So you changed where the money goes, right? So how is that could explain to me the difference between a substitute motion and an amended motion? Because in this case, it seems like they're interchangeable.
Okay, it does.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So the money's going to OpEx, which was the intent of your motion. Right. So that,
Okay.
I think that is now the motion before the body.
Okay. The original motion is before the body now, right? As amended.
What I would call your amendment was approved, and now we turn to the main motion.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions, comments on the main motion, Article 2? Okay, we're going to go to vote on Article 2, the main motion with the amendment. All in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, Article 2 with the amended motion passed at 6:38. Article 3, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 3, Main Street Bridge Debt Exclusion for Repair, submitted by the Select Board, 2/3 vote required. I move to appropriate a sum of $4 million and no cents, or any lower sum, for the purposes of repairing the Main Street Bridge, including all incidental and related expenses, and to meet said appropriation to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Select Board, to borrow such sum under and consistent with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, or any other source of authority, said amount contingent upon passage of a Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion ballot question in accordance with General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21CK, and to issue bonds or notes to the town therefore, and that any federal or state grants awarded prior to issuance of bonds will be used to reduce the amount borrowed by the town of Templeton.
Second, thank you. Advisory?
Advisory recommends a yes vote on Article 3 by a vote of 5-0.
Okay. All right, I'd like to open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 3. Go ahead.
Steve Drury, 18 Drury Lane, Templeton, Mass. I did a little study on this, and 90% of the bridges are owned by the Massachusetts government. 10% aren't. This particular bridge does connect to a highway that is controlled by the state. That is an avenue that hasn't been really investigated. The fact of the matter is that if we was to take $4 million and take a bond out for 15 years and then apply that to our property taxes, that's going to increase all our property taxes, and it's also, what it's going to also do is it puts our property taxes at risk of tax title. And I believe that our property taxes are illegal. I believe that there's a court case pending in Supreme Judicial Court as I speak over this very issue, and it will probably come out to show that it is illegal, and a new way of taxing is going to have to happen. Now, as for a question, you're asking me to basically put my property up for a bridge, which, first of all, I couldn't find any engineering to, anyone from the department, from the bridge department in Boston or anywhere else for that matter in Worcester, who came out and did a bridge survey, because actually no one asked them. And the fact of the matter is also, it's not said here. And so it's a Templeton bridge, and so they cut it in half, and it was built in 1938-9, and the concrete's falling apart. And I agree, the bridge should be shut down completely, not just one way. And the fact of the matter is that the other avenues, the fact that the road connects to a state road is the only thing that it really confuses me, because there's no distance in any of this. if a bridge goes to a state road, the state owns it. So I don't understand how the town still owns it, and why that wasn't, investigated or achieved somehow. We can't afford $4 million. I know I can't. And you basically will be pushing, fixed income people to the limits. And I think other avenues should be taken. And there is a way to go to both sides of the bridge, so I'm totally against this.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on Article 3? Go ahead, sir. Over here.
John Thomas, Cross Road. I have two questions.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Is there a number of years that this debt exclusion is proposed for?
Can someone explain that?
Mr. Moderator?
Yeah, go ahead.
Matthew Rivard, Select Board. We proposed 15 years for the bonds that would be taken for the bridge.
Thank you. I thought at the last town meeting there was mention that the state had earmarked money for this project, and I thought it was a case of we had to wait our turn to have the state fully fund this for us. I'm not sure if I'm mistaken on that point or not, but if there's the potential for the state to pay for this, it would certainly be a better alternative, even if it means a slight delay in that. Could someone clarify whether I was mistaken or whether there is state money for this? And I do see the article says grants would be applied for, and that's wonderful, but outside of the grants, is there a proposal for the state to say, we can pay for it, but you got to wait your turn?
Mr. Moderator? Mr. Moderator, may I?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Matthew Rivard, Selectman. Okay. So the gentleman is correct. There is an earmark in the state budget for $2 million that, if it is released, will be applied to this bridge project. However, having had extensive conversations with Representative Zlotnick, okay, it is very clear in my mind that the state will not release that earmark until we as a town, and that's not just the select board, that's the voters of the town as well, do our part to at least get the process moving. This is step one of that process, is to approve or potentially approve the Article 3 here tonight, which then activates step 2 of the process, which is the ballot question on November 5th. Okay? You'll recall back to annual town meeting, we got step 1 of the process done. We ended up, step 2 of the process ended up losing by, I believe it was 2 votes with 60-something blanks on the ballot. Okay? So that's where we are right now, is we're asking for step 1 of the process again, because the cost of this is not going down. At annual town meeting, the guesstimated cost by the engineer for this bridge was $3.7 million. The new estimate of this bridge's cost is now what you see in front of you, which is $4 million. Okay? We need to move forward on this as quickly as possible so that the cost doesn't increase further and cause more pain for anyone in this room and anyone else in town. That's why it is imperative that we move on this bridge. The other thought process here is that we know we have 3 bridges over the Otter River in that section of town. We have Main Street, we have the Hamlet Mill Bridge, and we have the Turner Street Bridge. Turner Street is in good condition. That was done 20-ish years ago. But we also know that Hamlin Mill and Main Street are both in very similar condition. And that's it's in pretty bad, they're both in pretty bad disrepair. We do have the state does do annual checks on these bridges, and the deterioration is continual. It's eventually, these bridges, both of them, are going to be condemned by the DOT. At which point we're only going to have one point of access in and out of those neighborhoods, and that's going to be the Turner Street Bridge. At that point, the residents of those areas are going to see increases in response time for their emergency services. There's going to be increase in costs from the schools because of bus rerouting, amongst other things.
Matt, you were just answering the question. Now you're kind of getting going beyond the answer.
The bottom line is we need to move forward on this before, we need to, as a town, move forward on this and get the financing before anything else will come to help us.
Okay. I believe you were next, Mr. May.
Mr. Moderator, Robert May, 137 Shady Lane. I have a little bit of a thing to read, and then I have 3 questions.
Okay, go ahead, please.
At the November 2019 town meeting, the town passed Article 10 for $200,000 to fund the 75% design so that this project could be submitted by August 2020 for state funding. Between 2019 and 2020, our administrator changed to Adam Lamontagne. It was, and is my understanding, that Carter Terenzini was retained as a consultant for this very project. By all accounts, the project sat still, nothing happening until the first quarter of fiscal year 2023, as can be determined by the quarterly reports of the town finance department. Can someone, and these are the questions.
Your question, go ahead.
Okay. And this is probably through you to the town administrator.
Yeah, and I would go one question at a time. That way, there's...
Sure. To you. Can someone please inform the taxpayers when the monies mentioned to cover the financing, roughly $340,000, stopped being required for its original purchase? What type of loan, an original loan, and why is it still allocated in FY25?
Okay, can anyone answer that question?
If I may, Mr. Moderator?
Go ahead, please.
If I could just get further clarification, I don't know what you're referring to, Mr. May.
You had stated that, you had stated in past meetings that this would be a debt that had come off the rolls that would be replacing or would be repaying this, and that was supposedly around $340,000. When did that debt come off the books, and why is it still being applied in FY25?
Okay, I understand your question. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
We actually have
Name and title, please.
Adam Lamontagne, Town Administrator. I apologize. I thought I already said that. So we have about $350,000 dropping off at the end of fiscal year 25, and we're looking at $340,000 to replace that debt that's falling off. The impact would be, as I mentioned, at 0.34. We actually looked at the state numbers. It's actually a little bit lower. It's actually 0.32 because I use rough numbers. So it actually is a little bit lower than what I did at the top of my head. So it's actually a little bit lower for the taxpayers.
Okay.
If we don't get any federal state grants.
So the debt was coming off after FY25, not after FY24.
That is correct. And I may have misspoke at the advisory meeting. If I did, I apologize.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Question 2. When was the replacement repair of the $4 million project brought before Capital Improvement Committee? I could find no record of it.
Does anyone have an answer when it was brought before Capital?
Just for clarification, I do know that it's been brought before the Capital Improvement Committee once for the $200,000 because I was the vice chair, and the second time it came, it was for $200,000 for the Main Street and $600,000 for the Hamlet Mill Bridge, and that went nowhere. And that wasn't for the...
You have an answer, please?
Adam Lamontagne, Town Administrator. It was prepared by the DPW Director, or Deep Director of Public Services, Bob Sozik, at the time, January 8th, 2020, and at the time, it was $2 million. I could give you a copy of this if you would like.
Yeah, and how does that relate to the $4 million project we're looking at now? And how is that updated from 2020 till now? Because I noticed at the capital improvements meeting and at the meeting after that, they were talking about timeframes for when it was submitted. I don't believe the timeframe was 4 years.
Could you answer that, please?
Adam Montagne, Town Administrator, it was our hope that we were going to get the $2 million earmark, and that's what I attribute to the delay, Mr. May.
Okay. And the last point, if this don't pass, this debt exclusion, will our taxes be adjusted down by that same amount, roughly 32 cents a thousand at the end of FY '25?
Can you answer that?
I will try to answer that the best I can because I still have the select board approve the budget. I do anticipate to go to the 2.5%, but if it were not approved, the taxes would be 0.32, but I'm going to go to the 2.5. I anticipate this in fiscal year '26.
Okay. So thank you.
If not over, but I don't know until I do the budget, so I can't really answer your question in fairness.
Thank you. Last thing I want to say is, based on all the information that I've heard through this, all these processes that this has gone through, I think we need the state to fund this bridge. And I think our administration needs to work diligently to find that rather than just look for political earmarks. Look for other means of financing. We have a grant writer. We have all these things. You know, they might require, they could require. I'd like more firm answers before I commit $4 million. And that's it.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Hi, Jessica Case, 294 Otter River Road. Mr. Moderator, my question is, can somebody explain how Article 3 and ballot question 6 are contingent upon each other? Meaning if one passes and the other doesn't, is the whole thing done, or vice versa?
Mr. Moderator?
If you can answer it, go ahead, please.
Matthew Rivard, Selectman. I can't answer that. So the two are linked.
Okay.
If Article 3 fails here, then the ballot question is moot point, okay? And for the reference of the people, that's going to be question 6 on the ballot on November 5th. Okay, if the Article 3 does not pass here, question 6 is a moot point.
Okay.
If Article 3 passes here, question 6 must also pass. Okay, in order for us to be able to, move forward with this by law.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Moderator?
Did you have a question?
Well, opportunity here. I also would like to make a friendly amendment to my motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move to amend Article 3 to read as follows: to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of $4 million and no cents, removing the words "or any lower sum," and the remainder of the article remains the same.
Do you have that amendment in writing?
I will momentarily.
Okay, so now that everyone's clear about this amendment to the main motion, it's actually fixing the main motion. So the words after the $4 million amount that say, "or any lower sum," are crossed off, and it just reads, "for the purpose of repairing the Main Street Bridge." Second, thank you. We don't need a second.
We don't need to vote it. It's your motion. Friendly motion, so it's good.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, please.
Liz Toth, Gray Road. We're talking about $4 million over 15 years. That's half of a mortgage period of time. And 32 cents, 34 cents on $500,000 on $500,000 valuation, that's roughly $170 per year that will be increased. What has not been brought up is the fact that not only would it be this year, you're looking at it, that there is also a lot of talk about a Prop 2.5 override for next year. So when you're looking at this and going to vote on this, now I truly believe the bridge needs to be fixed, I'll say that up front, but understand that your taxes are going to go up with this, and your taxes are most likely going to go up next year. And I would like to know why 15 years? Why not 5 years? Because we need to get it off the books as quickly as possible. So why 15?
Anyone have an answer for that?
Adam Montaigne, Town Administrator. I'm going to try to answer this as simply as I can. So with this 15 years, you're talking about a general obligation bond. So the first 2 years of any project or first year will open up what's called a bond anticipation note. So that way we can figure out exactly how much the total construction costs come to once we actually get out and the work's getting done. Then we could also figure out whether we get any state or federal grants. We are going to be putting in for a Mass Works grant. We're optimistic that we should secure funding. The congressman has already committed to a grant support letter. So let's say if we did receive a grant and let's say it's $2 million, then they could shortly lower that 15-year period. I don't know until we know what our construction costs are, as well as what grants we receive. But that period could be certainly shortened. If you remember correctly, with the water project on Old Royalston Road, for example, the water department went out for a debt authorization on that project, and that was approved. And the town secured an MVP action grant, and that's no longer on our budget anymore for the water department to reimburse us. So I don't know until we put in for the grant, but we definitely are putting in for it when the application period becomes available. The grant writer is actually working on it, and I am optimistic and I'm hopeful that we'll get it. And I would like to knock that off the taxes as soon as possible. I hope that answers your question.
Not completely, if I may follow.
Yeah, go ahead, follow up, please.
So I heard what you said. It could be shorter than 15 years. Who gets to decide how long it is? Because we are looking at most likely an override next year. And I'm looking at my tax bill going, all right, there are things that we need to do. There are things that we definitely need to pay for as a town that's appropriate to do so. And yes, we need to get things fixed. But if the state is going to pick up part of the tab, because we have no guarantees. Nothing you said. There's a lot of ifs, ands, maybes, I don't knows. In essence, we're writing a check for $2 million. I mean, $4 million as just adjusted. So what kind of guarantee you're going to give this town floor that it's going to be less than $4 million?
Go ahead, please.
Adam Montaigne, Town Administrator. I can't make an empty promise. I can't. And there is a lot of questions. I don't know if we're going to get a grant. We're going to try our best to get a grant. And if we do get it, I'm going to do my best to make sure that that falls off the taxes for the residents. And remember, the select board each year approved the budget. So should we get the grant? I mean, each year, I don't know what the budget's going to be until I start working on the budget. Same way with this, I don't know how much the construction costs are going to be until we actually get into that phase of the project. I'm not going to make something up or make a false promise either. So I can't answer your question, but I could tell the residents here that we're going to do our best to get a grant and secure it so we could alleviate as much on the taxpayers as we can. And that's all I can really say. We're going to try our best for a grant.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Rachel Herman, 41 Pleasant Street. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I have a question about the story of the bridge. The story in here is a very sad story. It's falling apart. We have to fix it, etc. But what's significant is this was built after the hurricane in 1938, and it was built by engineers who had a specific weight limit in mind when they built this bridge. It seems very clear that that weight limit has been exceeded for many years recently. The size and the weight of the trucking especially. There's a concrete factory and a sand and gravel factory nearby. So if these residents or tenants of the town are using the bridge or causing it to deteriorate more quickly because of the size of their vehicles that are not supposed to be going over a bridge like that, it shouldn't have got to that condition that quickly. Therefore, I just want to point out that as the future comes, there should be some thought of making sure that this bridge is strong enough to take whatever the weight's going to be, because the town officials have not enforced a weight limit on this, and now the residents today are paying the price for that. So let's not make the same mistake going forward.
Okay, thank you. Do you have an answer for that?
I'm sorry? No, I don't have an, well, I can help her with some answers, yes. Just some Bob Sozik, Director of Public Services in Templeton. As you know, a little clarification, Hamlet Mill and Main Street Bridge, there's town's responsibility for those two bridges. The roads and bridges in towns are approved by MassDOT. You can get all that information from MassDOT and District 2. But these two bridges are the Templeton's responsibilities to repair. And we've been working on this for years. And each year, MassDOT is inspecting these two bridges and gives us a full-blown report on what restrictions or what I may have to do. Like Main Street, we had to restrict a lane for the weight load. They did not put any weight rating either on Hamlet or Main Street. We did some work on Hamlet, some shoring, according to MassDOT's recommendations and specs. The Department of Public Works did it ourselves to save the town some money. Main Street Bridge, same thing. We did some cribbing, and we had to restrict the lane due to deterioration. As Mr. Rivard explained, each year it's getting worse and worse. And I feel if Templeton don't step up and vote on this repair, you're going to have two bridges closing at the same time, which will have a big impact to the town of Templeton. I encourage you all to really seriously think about voting on this bridge. It's well needed. As Mr. Rivard explained, the escalation in construction is going up and up. Royalston Road, that project was a $5 million project. Now it's a $10 million project, but that's going to be funded by federal and state monies. I encourage you to vote on the Main Street Bridge. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Gail Noel, 87 Winchester Street. I did take notes at the annual town meeting about this, and, you know, we needed a grant writer, and yes, we got it. MassWorks infrastructure grant was in the works. Have we started it?
Does anyone have an answer for that?
And if passed, they will start the design and put it out to bid. Zlocknet set aside $3 million, which is, and it's number 13 in queue in the district, and expected to be replaced in 27 or 28.
Okay, I think.
That was just.
Do you have an answer, please?
Hi, Gracelyn Curry, I'm the grant writer administrator. So I had been working on a MassWorks infrastructure application. That grant will cover 75%. We have to come up with the 25% cost share. This would cover that cost share.
For the design? Or the whole thing?
We're at 75% completion for the design. The grant, the $4 million in any grant would be for the construction.
Great, and so it's in the works. That's great.
I started an application for the May town meeting because the last debt exclusion didn't pass.
Right.
I abandoned that application because we wouldn't have been able to put up the cost share. If this debt exclusion were to pass, I would.
So the whole cost of the bridge is $4 million?
Yes, for the construction.
For the construction?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I'd like to make one clarification as well. That grant that...
Name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt Revard, Select Board. The grant that Ms. Curry is speaking of is a reimbursement grant. So it implies that we must have the funding in place and be working on the project before that money will be paid back. That's something that's very important for everyone to understand, which still means that this is imperative in order to just get the project moving so that Graceland can apply for that grant in order for us to be able to be paid back as the project goes on. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead,
Steve
please.
Drury, 18 Drury Lane, Templeton, Mass. I think by listening to what we've all heard, that this question is definitely should be passed and a no should be entered. For the fact of the matter is that we, as citizens, here, being only 59, as not the town. Second, we're going to be waiting on an answer from the ballot, which is basically, I'm almost sure, will be a no. And this is all fictitious in sense of without, it's putting the cart before the horse, and as far as I can see, none of us can afford this. So the avenue to go is to go for the state to try to get and get rid of the bridge and let the state own it and let the people petition to put the bridge in charge of the state, and that's the avenue to go.
Go ahead, Julie. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I think he was before me.
Were you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wayne Cochran, 61 Walnut Street. I think I just need a clarification because with the new amended portion, you're taking out any lower sum. So does that include we're still going to be hit with the 4 million even if we get a grant of 2 million?
Okay, can somebody answer that?
Mr. Moderator?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Matt Revard, Select Board. No, because if you go into if you read the article, don't forget it says here that any federal or state grants awarded prior to issuance of bonds will be used to reduce the amount borrowed by the town of Templeton. So anything we get will reduce the bond.
So I think I'm just not understanding why we're taking out any lower sum. We're amending to any lower sum if we're going to lower it if we get money.
You can. Hold on.
I'm going to let town council do the legal portion of it. That's okay.
Tom Harrington, Town Council. So this was, I asked Matt to make that correction, and the reason I asked him to make that correction was when we borrow money, we have to send it to a separate process, a separate attorney who does our bonds. And in my experience, if we sent him something that said 4 million or a lower sum, he would respond, that's not clear enough for me. I can't write you your bonds. It needs to be a specific sum. So the change was strictly an administrative change so that bond counsel knows what he's doing when he goes to borrow the money for the town. But the facts of the matter don't change, that the town is voting to borrow 4 million, but that 4 million will be reduced by any money we receive in grants or gifts or any other source of funds that we can acquire. So it's not going to change the package that's presented. It just makes it administratively clear to the bonding team.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Julie Richard, 33 Orchard Lane, Templeton, Mass. So this has come to town floor a few times. Main Street Bridge needs to be fixed. If you live in that area and you want to wait another 40 to 42 minutes, I believe, was estimated increase, and getting medical or police presence there, that's pretty scary in my book. So if you look back, I did some math, about $14 more per month, per year for the taxpayers. That's what's going to hit your wallet. In order for us to fix the bridge, it belongs to Templeton. We need to get the funding, and then we are in the middle of getting
We have a point of, what's your point of order, sir?
otherwise.
Her
So we need
figures,
to
her
wait on
figures
Julie,
are
can you
not-
hold on a second? What's your point of order?
Her figures are not being placed before the public. We don't know what the hell she's.
She is a resident making a comment, sir.
It's approximate. It's about
Please continue.
$170 more a year for the taxpayer, myself included. So I'm thinking, are we really going to avoid it again and let it go up by another $2 or $3 million? We need to fix Main Street Bridge.
Okay. Any questions or comments on Article 3? Hold on, this guy right here, please.
Dennis O'Brien, 259 Ballinger Road. I'd like to move the question.
Second.
Second, thank you, okay. Two-thirds vote, right? Okay, we're going to move the question. This has to pass with a two-thirds vote, so everyone's very clear about that. And I'm going to try a voice count first and see how close it is. All in favor of Article 3, say yes. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, we have to move the question. All in favor of moving the question, say yes. Okay, all opposed, say no. Okay, so we are moving the question. Now we're going to go to vote on Article 3. Sorry about that. Yes, sir? On that, okay, move the question, 7:14. Thanks. It's this one. Okay, now we're going to go to vote on Article 3 with what's up on the screen. Just remember those words on the second line, any or any lower sum are crossed out, and that was explained just recently. So all in favor of Article 3, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no.
No!
I'm going to call that a pass at 7:15.
Mr. Moderator, I move to have hands shown and counted.
No, you have to, there has to be you have to have 7 residents stand up if you want to count.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have more than 7, so we will go to a hand count. I will need counters up here. I need one. They have to be a registered voter from each section. Section 1, 2, and 3. Bear with me, I have to get... Not finding this thing. Just give me a second, I'm trying to find this. Yeah. Okay, we're just going to have the town clerks, we're going to have the town clerks swear you, all 3 of you in, please.
Do you swear to faithfully and impartially claim the skill and judgment upon the duties of councilors for the city?
All right, thank you. Okay, counters, get back to your positions. All right. I'm going to do the audience first, and then I'll do the stage and advisory afterwards. Okay, section over here to my very far left, all in favor, please stand up. If you can't stand up, raise your hand. 6. That's, okay, middle section, all in favor? If you can't stand up, you can raise your hand. Thank you. Section to the far right, all in favor, please stand up or raise your hand. Okay, advisory, all in favor? Stand up. And select board, all in favor, stand up. I'll do you guys all at once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we have 10 yeses. Okay, we're going to start over on the far left for the noes. Everyone against Article 3 was no. Please stand up or raise your hand.
1.
1, okay, thank you. Middle section, all opposed to Article 3, please stand up or raise your hand if you can't. Okay, that's 11. Section to the far right, all opposed, please stand up. Two. Thank you. Advisory and stage, all opposed, please stand up. Okay, I have 0. Okay. All right. You guys want to do the quick? Okay, by account, Article 3 passed 48 to 20 to 14.
What was it?
Right.
Necessary two-thirds.
Yeah, which is a 2/3, which is more than the 2/3 vote required. And it passed at 720. Okay, Article 4, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 4, sewer roof borrowing, submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Sewer Commission, 2/3 vote required. I move to appropriate the sum of $490,000 and no cents for the purposes of financing the replacement of the administrative building roof at the wastewater treatment facility, including, without limitation, all costs thereof as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C of the general laws, that to meet this appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the Select Board, is authorized to borrow $490,000 and no cents and issue bonds or notes thereof under Chapter 44 or Chapter 29 of the general laws as most recently amended, that such bonds or notes are expected to be paid from the Sewer Department Enterprise Fund revenues, sewer receipts, but nevertheless shall be general obligations of the town of Templeton, and that any federal or state grants awarded prior to the issuance of bonds will be used to reduce the amount by the town of Templeton.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, advisory?
Advisory recommends a yes vote on Article 4 by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 4, please. Okay, questions or comments on Article 4? All right, and having none, we're going to go to vote on Article 4. It is a 2/3 vote. I will try the voice first. All in favor of Article 4, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. No. Okay. That article passed at 7:23. Article 5, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 5, Council on the Aging Bylaw Amendment, submitted by the Council on Aging. A majority vote is required. I move to amend Chapter 9 of the general bylaws as follows. If there's no objection, dispense with reading the entire article.
Seconded.
Seconded, okay. So we're not going to read the article. If you have your voter's guide, I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to read it. If you haven't read it, if you're not up to date, I'll give you 2 minutes to read it.
Hopefully it's
All right, can I get a second on that?
Seconded.
Thank you. Advisory?
Advisory recommends a yes vote on Article 5 with a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 5. Go ahead,
Mike
please.
Dixon, 465 Patriots Road. Just an observation, in the original paragraph 9/22, and would be changed to 921, one of the sections that's X'd out, who shall serve without pay. Now, that makes me think that the people, with that going away, is there an expectation that they will be serving with pay?
Can somebody answer that? Yep.
There we go.
Please don't do that.
Matt Reavard, Select Board. If you take a look at the article itself, it would be the new section 921, the bold language is how it is going to read if approved, and it does say in there that members of the council will serve without pay. It's on page 10. It's on page 10. It's, I believe, the second or third sentence in bold from the bottom, if you take a look.
I can show you.
I'll read it. After appointment, members must be sworn by the town clerk. Terms of office shall be for 3 years, and members can be appointed for consecutive years. Members of the council shall serve without pay.
You're good. He's good. He said he got it. Thank you.
Got it?
Yep. Okay.
You're welcome.
Any more questions on Article 5? Okay. All right, we're going to go to vote on Article 5. All in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. Okay, Article 5 passed unanimously at 7:27. Article 6, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 6, retention of tax deeded lands, submitted by the Select Board, majority vote required. I move to retain for its use certain tax delinquent properties for which it foreclosed the right of redemption and acquired through tax deed for the following purposes. Parcel 1, Hubbardston Road, land of 93,600 square foot, Board of Assessors map 4-10, parcel 1118.1, Worcester County Registry of Deeds, book 69979, page 137, for highway and general municipal purposes.
Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Advisory?
Advisory Committee recommends a yes vote on Article 6 by a vote of 5-0.
Okay. Any questions or comments on Article 6? Go ahead, please.
Robert May, 137 Shady Lane. Ms. Moderator, I'm looking for clarification from someone as to how this may or may not be affected by the Taylor decision before the Supreme Court, or that was in the Minnesota court, but is changing the tax title and the tax taking in Massachusetts. I don't know when this property was foreclosed, if there's the look-back period supposedly 3 years. I don't know how that affects this. Could somebody please explain that to me? How this property fits into that?
Anyone have an answer?
Mr. Moderator, Mike Curry, Select Board Chair. I'll offer you this, Bob. I have been talking with the town treasurer collector, and she's well aware of all the law changes and how it's impacting tax taking, and she is making adjustments. Cheryl, I don't know if you want to offer anything else to answer Bob's question, but her office is very cognizant of how it's changed, and that the money would, any money that is excess and above does, like you said, that court ruling is basically making sure the original owner does not miss out on the additional funds.
So, if I may.
Go ahead, please, yes.
In that line of thought, are we going to be liable, or do we have any potential liability if we retain this property and the previous owner comes back and says, okay, well, you have it assessed at $55,000 and you took it, so I want $55,000?
I understand your question. I'd ask either Cheryl or town council to help with that answer.
Okay, hold on.
Thanks, Bob.
Tom Harrington, Town Council. So frankly, it's a very interesting question. I don't think the law has caught up to this particular situation yet. What we know is that we look at the delta between when a town sells a property for tax title and what was owed in taxes, and that's the money that's at play in the Supreme Court decision, but that's not the case here. And so I frankly think we're still waiting on rulings from DOR to understand what's going to happen here. If I'm using my crystal ball, it's going to be based on what we would assess the land at or when it gets assessed. But it's frankly, it's an unanswered question.
That's my concern, is that it's unanswered. It's an unanswered question, therefore it seems to be a potentially open liability for the town.
The town can always sell the land, right? So it always has the ability to sell the land. So all this is doing is, it's right now sits, it kind of, tax title is kind of, it's sitting in limbo, right? So what we're saying here is, we're going to acquire it for general municipal purposes. That doesn't mean the town can't sell it. The town can always sell its land. It would need a vote of town meeting to do so, just like we get votes to sell other parcels of land. So I understand your question, I understand your concern, I share your concern, but I don't think it puts us in a bind. What we're doing by acquiring it is not much different than keeping it in limbo, other than the fact that now it falls under the ownership of the town of Templeton. If for some reason the law spins to a place that we owe someone money, we can still sell the land to pay that amount if we choose to.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, sir, over there.
Sean Ambrose, 116 Templeton Road. I'm sorry, Partridgeville Road. So, if I understand this correctly, if we don't acquire the land, it sells, it's on our tax rolls. It's earning money for this town. What's that property doing now? It's not earning any money for anybody, is it? And if we acquire the land and we say we use it for municipality purposes, or we wait until we want to sell it again, how is the town benefiting from that? Where's our benefit? Because right now it seems pretty simple. If we say no, the land sells, somebody else acquires it, pays whatever the back taxes are on it, and we start earning as a town on the tax rolls. Can someone explain to me why?
Anyone have an answer for that? Go ahead, Mr. Sozak.
Yeah, sure.
Bob Sozak, Director of Public Services. We had a meeting not too long ago with officials at Town Hall going over all these properties. And when this property came about, I inquired about it because it is a low spot. We have a lot of water problems in that area. So I'm looking toward the future and using that for drainage and detention ponds, because in the history that I've been here, there's very few easements and a lot of water problems. I'm trying to look out for the town so we can do something in the future with Hubbardston Road, Victoria Lane. All the water will be going into that area. Thank you.
That help? Go ahead, please.
18 Drury Lane, Templeton, Stephen Drury. The Supreme Court basically said that the town can only take what is owed, period. Now, we don't know what's owed in any of this property, and this is like asset forfeiture. You know, we don't know what's owed on, like I said, is it an amount that's more or half or less than, it could be $100. I had this town want to take me to tax court for title for $125. Yep, that's what they did. And I got to tell you, that's still pending. That's going to go to court. The fact of the matter is if you vote on this and you allow this, you don't know any of the owners, and you don't know what they owe, and basically all they're going to be able to secure is what is owed. And they can't sell the property, so it's just, you're going to be holding it. And if you did sell the property and you sold it for undervalue, you'd be in a civil court case. And I could appreciate that. But the fact of the matter is that this whole idea is un-American, taking taxes and taking your property. As I told you, and I instruct you, you best get it together and read the Supreme Court actions that are going down in the next 2 months. This whole idea of property taxes is a violation of the 16th Amendment because it's not realized. Those taxes are fictitious, and that's coming out. And you can look on your computers, and it's all over it. So I would ask you to vote no and save these people the headache of this problem, you know. And that's all I can say.
Any other questions or comments?
Just to follow up, Robert May, 137 Shady Lane again. Mr. Sozak just brought up a point that this property that we were talking about that the town could sell and so on and so forth is probably a waterlogged piece that is undevelopable. So, I mean, I understand Mr. Sozak's point. I'm just looking out for the town's liability because as of the last time I looked, it was assessed at $55,000, and being a waterlogged hole on the corner of Laurel does not make it a prime property. So that seems to be a potential liability. And that's my only comment, my only statement.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions or comments on Article 6?
I have another comment, and again, I must emphasize the point. It's 18 Drury Lane, Stephen Drury. The fact that property taxes are based on fictitious numbers that are continuously...
You already made that comment. Just
Excuse me?
your last time up, you made that same exact comment.
Mr. Moderator,
sir.
point of order, repetitive.
Yes, you just made that comment. You literally just made that
There's nothing in your rule book that says that I can't be repetitive. I read it.
Then go ahead, please, by all means.
I will, if you stop interrupting me. Am I on a time limit, man?
Yes.
5 minutes?
2.
2?
Yes.
And you say already there? I'm going to see you in civil court. And I'm
Mr. Moderator, point of order, decorum.
Yeah.
And it's his second.
All right. Any more questions or comments on Article 6? Go ahead, please.
Janice LaFave, 140 Bridge Street. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to know if this property is not taken to be used for town purposes, what happens to it?
Does anyone have an answer for that? If you would, please. Well, we have town council.
Tom Harrington, Town Council. So the original owner no longer owns this property. So it is now, it's in this state of limbo, right? They don't own it. The town has the right to sell it, or the town has the right to acquire it. What you're being asked to do here is to acquire it.
Right. So if it's not acquired, then it would be sold?
It'll stay in limbo. It can be sold, or it can stay in limbo. I suspect after hearing Mr. Sozik's description of it, there probably won't be many buyers.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Jessica Case, Templeton's conservation agent. There are Mass DEP protected wetlands on this property. It could be potentially buildable, but it would need a permit through the Templeton Conservation Commission along with Mass DEP in order to build on it. It looks like it encompasses at least 33% of the 2-acre parcel? 2-acre parcel.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions or comments on Article 6? Okay, we're going to go to vote on Article 6. All in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no.
No!
Okay, that article passed at 7:40. Article 7, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 7, sale of parcels, tax deeded lands, submitted by the Select Board. A 2/3 vote is required. I move to authorize the Select Board to dispose of certain tax delinquent properties for which it foreclosed the right of redemption and acquired through tax deed as follows. Parcel 1, 677 Patriots Road, land of 13,680 square feet with building structures, Board of Assessors map 3-09, parcel 70, Worcester County Register of Deeds, Book 69608, page 342. Parcel 2, 12 Farnsworth Road, land of 50,520 square feet with building structures, Board of Assessors map 3-13, parcel 17.8, Worcester County Register of Deeds, Book 69979, page 135. Parcel 3, 279 Royalston Road, land of 69,690 square feet with building structure, Board of Assessors map 4-03, parcel 17.4, Worcester County Register of Deeds, book 69979, page 136. And to further authorize the Select Board to execute, deliver, and grant such deeds as it deems reasonable, appropriate, and in the best interests of the town to effectuate the transfer of title and the purposes of this article.
Thank you. Advisory?
Advisory Committee recommends a yes vote on Article 7 by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, I'm going to open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 7. Go ahead, please.
Robert May again. Just another reiteration of the same issue. Only thing this time here with us selling the properties, it brings up, from what I've read about this issue, the value as an issue. Because if the previous owner, within that period of time, feels that the property was worth more, you get into a whole civil issue with this. I don't know what we are looking to benefit from for these, what we think the value of them is, but I'm just not sure that at this time, with this present law not fully understood where it's going to go, if this is the right time to be selling property that we took in tax title. Because I believe one of these properties is listed at $200 and something thousand as assessed value. And I don't think, from looking at the property, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near that, but it gives the owner an argument, the old owner an argument. Just my thought.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions or comments? Article 7. Go ahead, please.
Noel Francis, 14 State Road, Baldwinville. I'm chair of the advisory committee. We need to stop getting hung up.
Sir, are you talking as chair or as a resident?
I'll talk as a private citizen.
Okay, thank you.
You need to stop getting hung up over values. You know, the real issue is the town needs to take these properties, and the town has or will have procedures in place to comply with the upcoming law. That's something that Adam has worked on diligently. You don't have to worry about that. No, you don't. Now.
Wait, what's your point of order, sir?
Stop.
He doesn't appear to be yelling to me. Continue, please.
All right, my point is this. You have, the state is imposing, they have a brand new Affordable Housing Act, and the town has to keep or have 10% of its housing stock to be affordable housing. And one of the areas in which, this could help the town is if we take the property, perhaps we could turn it over and it could become affordable housing stock. Because we are not at present meeting the 10% requirement. And that is really the most important issue, is whether or not we meet that requirement. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Article 7.
Steve Drury, 18 Drury Lane. Well, I'm really glad he said that. But basically, as far as any patriot would be concerned, the properties that you've listed, again, whatever is owed and whatever they're worth, the town can only take what they're owed, and this disruption that goes on will end up in land court and will be a lawyer feast, and the town will spend just like $40,000 I know of on external obsolescence, and you'll all pay for it. And so taking people's property is scarce. This is our right to own property. And because these people are behind, I would suggest that you wait until the value of the property reaches the tax that is owed.
Mr. Moderator?
Okay, thank you. Any more?
Terry Griffiths,
Go ahead, please.
speaking as Select Board. I'm trying to understand this as well with the new laws coming into place, and Ms. Richard can feel free to correct me, but there are properties that have been up for tax title for over 20 years in town. Because of COVID, there's a backlog, and we have in excess of 146, around 150 properties in Templeton in tax title. So if we can adjust to the new law, take it slow, and start taking the properties and putting the money in a separate account, because it is 3 years, a person's property, they will have 3 years for to come to get their share of what the town takes. So the town will take the property for what it's owed plus fees, and the rest will go into an account for the purpose of preparing if the landowner or the property owner comes to claim their portion.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
18 Drury Lane, Templeton, Mass. And again, land court would have to come forward and give approval and authority before every one of these court cases, before the town even reaps a penny. This is not the way to collect tax money. And this is what the tell is. That's the tell up there. They need more money to spend. Let's stop them.
Mr. Moderator,
Go ahead, please.
Julie Richard, Orchard Lane, Templeton. I move the question, please.
Okay, all in favor of moving the question? What's that? It's going to be a two-thirds vote. It's going to be a two-thirds vote. All in favor of moving the question, say yes. Okay. All opposed, say no. Okay, moving the question passed at 7:48. Okay, we're going to vote on Article 7. All in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. No. Okay. Article 7 passed at 7:48, two-thirds vote.
By 2/3? Okay, awesome, thanks.
I'm learning. Article 8, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 8, ambulance, submitted by the Select Board, a majority vote required. I move to transfer the sum of $450,000 and no cents to purchase an ambulance with necessary equipment from the ambulance receipts reserved for appropriation account.
Second.
Second, thank you. Advisory?
The advisory committee recommends a yes vote on Article 8 with a vote of 4-0, one member voting present.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 8, please. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Moderator,
Yeah,
I have
name and street.
Robert May, 137 Shady Lane. I have a amendment to this article, and that would be to replace the word "and." It's in between purchase and ambulance.
Purchase.
To replace the word "and" with the following: a replacement of our 2014 ambulance.
Okay, you have that in writing and signed?
Second.
So your amendment is to include that, to show that it's replacing the 2014? Is that's your
Correct.
intent? Okay.
Correct.
I wish they'd changed.
Okay, and I know I did get a second on that, so I'll open up the floor. Questions and comments on the amendment to Article 8, and since it's yours, you may speak.
Basically, I just wanted to make this motion simply to confirm that we are going to replace what we purchase, because in the past, we have not done that. And as an example, I mean, I believe this 2014 has a 10-year life expectancy. That's why we're replacing it in 2014. 25. It's 1 year late because we purchased a tanker last year. But in 2019, we purchased an engine to replace a 1999 engine. We never did. We bought the new engine. The 1999 engine is still in play, and actually right now it's out for repair. That's what I'm trying to get away from, is just us piling up, additional repair costs. And I think something like this does that. It doesn't change the idea. I believe we do need the ambulance, but I believe we don't need the old one at a higher repair cost. That's my point.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on the
Mr.
amendment?
Moderator?
Article 8,
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to ask Chief Dickey of the Templeton Fire Department and Ambulance to come down and just to clarify whether or not this is, if this is necessary.
Okay.
Chief?
Is Chief here?
He's right there.
Go ahead, please, Chief.
Chief? Thank you in advance, sir.
Good evening, David Dickey, Templeton Fire Chief, also 427 Dudley Road, speaking as the chief. Yes, this will be to replace our 2014 ambulance. That's the design of this. But to talk a little further, the engine that we purchased was not to replace the 1999. It was to actually replace an older engine, which it did replace, and that one was taken out of service. It was turned in when we purchased it.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please.
$450,000 is a lot of money.
Name and street,
Steve
please.
Drury, 18 Drury Lane, if you don't already recognize me. The fact of the matter is $450,000 is a lot of money. And the question is vague. It says necessary equipment, a fibrillator, is it portable? I mean, I could guess forever and ever and ever. And then if you're speaking to years, 2014, and we're in 2024, how much is it really going to change? Because everything's got to be certified, and I'm sure it's certified today. The fact of the matter is does it run? Will it get you where you're going to go? And we probably ain't going to have a bridge. So the bottom line is, we can't keep up to date with the Joneses if we don't have the money. I ask you to recognize that the questions are just constantly against our properties, and you're just going to bankrupt us all. I ask to vote no.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions or comments on Article 8? On the amendment? Actually, yeah, we have to vote on that amendment too, right? This amendment? We have to vote on the amendment first, right? Yeah, same thing. All right. So we're going to vote on the amendment, which is to replace the word "and" after where it says "purchase an ambulance" with the following: a replacement of ours ambulance with the necessary. So everyone's correct. So we have to vote on the amendment first, and then we'll go to the main. So all in favor of the amendment to Article 8, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. No. Okay, the amendment passed at 7:55. Okay, Article 8. All in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. No. Okay, Article 8, the main motion passed at 7:55. Article 9, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 9, extraordinary inspection workload, submitted by the Select Board, majority vote required. I move to transfer from certified free cash the sum of $40,000 and no cents to the account of development services for additional compensation for the building commissioner, plumbing, gas, and electrical inspectors to account for the additional inspection workload created by the construction and renovation at 12-16 School Street, the former Baldwinville Elementary School.
Thank you. Advisory?
Advisory recommends a yes vote on Article 9 with a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 9. All right, no questions and comments on Article 9. We'll go to vote. All in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed say no. Okay, Article 9 passed unanimously at 7:57. Yeah. Is it up there? Did they? Hold on. It says 2/3 on it. This one does. Okay, Article 10, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 10, Special Stabilization Fund, submitted by the Select Board, 2/3 vote required. I move to establish a special stabilization fund for the purpose of purchasing police vehicles and small highway trucks.
Second that motion.
Thank you. Advisory?
Advisory recommends a yes vote on Article 10 by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. I'd like to open up the floor to Article 10 for questions and comment. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Robert May, 137 Shady Lane. Again, I have an amendment to this article. This is Article 10, and it goes, to see if the town pursuant to MGL 40, Section 5B, to establish a special stabilization fund for the purpose of purchasing police vehicles and small highway trucks. This annual funding will be equal to the total meals tax collections from April 1st through March 31st preceding the annual town meeting.
Okay, and I assume you have that, you have that in writing?
I have that in writing. And I'd also like to mention that I'd be open to changing the dates if they would work better.
Tom Harrington, Town Council. So, Mr. May, I just want to understand what we're trying to accomplish here. So it says this annual funding, but we don't have to fund this annually. Are you trying to put in a requirement that this is automatically funded annually?
Yes. Because the meals tax is.
Right. So.
And that was the whole purpose when this was originated back in, I believe, 2017. And this is also the focus that Mr. Lamontagne has stated that he would go with at other public meetings.
So I understand the intention, but I want to be clear So we fund stabilization funds through town meeting typically, right? So if town meeting decides not to do it, it won't comply with your vote. And another way of saying, the vote you're taking here, I don't think can bind a future town meeting.
There's no binding a town meeting, it's just saying the amount that he can use for this will be the amount that we collect from meals tax from April 1st through March 31st, preceding the annual town meeting.
Right, so what you're saying is, round numbers, let's say we collect $200 in meals tax.
Okay.
You're saying that at the annual town meeting, we would then be putting $200 into this stabilization fund.
No, it goes in automatically.
You want it to go in automatically. Okay, so that's the purpose, is that you want this to be automatically funded with...
Every year, so that we can maintain the police force, the police cruisers that we buy one every year, and that there's extra money for DPW if needed, and if not, the fund grows. If the meals tax money is greater than the need.
Okay.
So the fund grows, so it can be used for more DPW issues or other police needs.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead, please.
Adam Lamontagne, 17 Cherry Street. So this is really to establish the fund.
You're speaking as a resident?
I'll speak as a resident, sure.
Okay.
I agree with Mr. Curry on establishing the fund. I think the motion makes sense. This is a policy discussion. If town meeting were to approve this evening, at that point, it becomes a policy discussion amongst the select board, and they will have to determine the policy, because we would have to update our financial management policy beforehand. I just don't think it's prudent for town meeting to be appropriating here this evening. Even though the article allows for it, I don't disagree with Mr. May, what he's trying to do. However, this needs to be a thorough discussion. I think any time town meeting were to start moving numbers around, I didn't come out against the suggestions on the OpEx stabilization, but I really want town meeting to be cautious. This needs to be discussion. I believe the advisory committee is going to be discussing this at their meeting, and the select board have to vote on their policy, because I believe I'm meeting the intent of what we're trying to do. I did have conversations with Select Board Member Bennett about this special stabilization, and I believe the key here is to go along with Mr. Curry on establishing it, but then have the discussion amongst the advisory and then the Select Board adopting the policy before we appropriate anything. I'm just want to be cautious, because if we start throwing numbers out there, it could throw everything out of whack. So I just want to make sure it gets done in a cautious, productive, efficient way. That's all. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Beverly Bartolomeo, South Road, Templeton. Well, we have a problem in this town. We do not follow anything that was voted on before. Years ago, stabilization was supposed to be set up for fire trucks, ambulances, that kind of stuff. That was never done. I don't know why. But when the meals tax came and they want us to pass it, it was supposed to go for the same thing that Bob's talking about. It was supposed to go for the repair of these vehicles. It is not supposed to be used by the general fund. So if we take the money from the meals tax and we put it into a fund, there will be money for repairs. We don't have to go into the general fund or any place else to get it. And if we don't use it all, you'll have a balance. If we need more, then someone can sit down and figure out where it's going to come from. We were told one thing. I would love, just for once, to have the one thing done. You guys have got to clean up your act. You cannot make shit up because you got the seat. Because other people have... Matt, I'm sick of you. Be quiet.
Hey, no, you can't be this
decorum.
Decorum is right. I want you guys to clean up your act. You cannot make up your own rules. When we vote on something 4 years ago, it still
Well,
is enacted today.
Bev, it looks like
Thank
that's
you.
what we're trying to do right now, so.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Liz.
Liz Toth, Gray Road. First, a point of order on what Mr. Lamontagne said. This is the town meeting floor where budget decisions are made. It's not made in the Select Board's office. It is not made by you personally. You make recommendations. The town meeting decides where it is. It doesn't make any difference how it might mess with your numbers. So what we're trying to do here is say that the money from the meals tax is set aside specifically for a purpose, not to be tapped for anything else. And for you to sit here and go, oh, this is going to cause a problem. The only person it causes a problem for, sir, is you. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Town council wants to speak a little bit, and then we'll continue.
Thank you. Tom Harrington again. Okay, so here's my concerns with this motion. And I think it can stand as a one-year motion. And that is that we're voting that when we fund this in the spring, we're going to fund it with an amount that's equal to whatever we have collected in taxes. I think we can do that, and that's a one-year thing. What I don't think we're accomplishing is assigning the meals tax forevermore to flow directly into this stabilization fund. We can do that, but we first, in the warrant article, need to tell the town, the whole town, that it is our intention to take those meals tax and assign it to this stabilization fund going forward. So I think that's something, if we choose to do that, we can do that at the Springtown meeting with a properly drafted warrant article. But I think this change I don't think we can tie up the meals tax forevermore by amending a vote that did not mention meals tax at this meeting. So I think the way it's written is okay, but the way I'm reading it is that we're proposing that if we are to fund this in the spring, it will be in an amount equal to the meals tax, but that's only for this year. If we want to do that going forward, that's going to take a warrant article that specifically states that's our intention.
Go ahead, Noel.
Noel Francis, 14 State Road, speaking as a member of advisory. It's clearly understood by Mr. Lamontagne, the members of the Select Board, and my fellow advisory board members that the meals tax is to be used for the purchase of police vehicles. With all due respect to Mr. May, I understand what he's trying to do. I respect that. But I just want to tell you something. I would ask that this be passed with that language, with that original language, and not amended. And the reason for that is that I have talked with our representatives about trying to change the amount of payment in lieu of taxes money that the state pays for the 20% of the lands in town that are owned by the state. That amount a couple of years ago was $90,000. In the most recent year, it was $150,000. And what it really should be, according to a formula that's been pushed by Mayor Wu of Boston, is the state's,
excuse me, point of order. Go ahead.
It is on topic.
All right, good.
All I'm trying to say is
could you wrap it up?
pilot would be $500,000. That's all I'm trying to say.
All right, thank you. You're next, please.
Yes, my name is Julie Kibbe, 207 Lord Road, Templeton, and I have two questions and a comment.
Go ahead.
My first question is, how much money are we talking about? What is the meals tax revenue from 2023, for example? So how much money are we bickering about?
Anyone have an answer for that?
About 75. Matthew Rivard, Select Board, estimated $72,000 to $75,000 for 23. We don't have the numbers in front of us, obviously, but it was, historically, it's been around 70 to 75.
Thank you. Okay. Second question is more of a clarification. In this article, the way that it's written originally, it says used to purchase police vehicles and small highway trucks. That's not specific enough for me, at least, because we don't control the highway. Route 2 is a state road, and I'd like to know what types of trucks this money would go towards. And I don't think that this is specific enough. So can anybody speak to what types of trucks we'd be funding?
Go ahead, please.
Bob Sozak, Director of Public Services. We put it as small highway trucks because there's large highway trucks. A small highway truck would be pickup trucks, small utility trucks, 1 tons, 550s, in that category.
Sorry, another follow-up question. Are those used for our own, like, residential roads, or are those used on the highway?
No, all these vehicles are used for the town of Templeton's roads.
Could we add that to the article for clarification?
Well, the thing is, when it says highway trucks, it means Templeton highway trucks. It does not mean
Okay,
state.
so it's just a generally well-known
And this is town meeting, so we can't buy state vehicles, I can tell you that right now.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
we're not taking the money and buying a vehicle for the state and letting them take it. This is for the highway department in Templeton.
Okay, thank you.
As well as the police department.
Yeah, and the police,
department's the town-owned vehicles.
Yeah, it's the police, not the state police, the Templeton police.
Okay. So my last statement here is a comment. It's not a question. Thank you for your answer. I just want to commend the advisory board and the select board for their time and effort that they've spent here today. You've been judged back and forth a number of times, but most of you are working for pennies on your minutes and hours that you're putting into this town. We appreciate what you're doing for us, and there needs to be a level of trust between the townspeople and the people who are helping and elected to do their job. I just wanted to say thank you, and if the $77,000 fits in one budget or the other, I, for one, trust you to do the right thing with it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
James Toth, Gray Road. I think part of the issue with this is it says small highway trucks. Technically, on paper, do we have a highway department? Because that's public services now, right? So should there be clarification on that it's for public services?
That's a good question. Does someone have an answer?
Select Board. The department, the highway department is underneath the Department of Public Services. It is part of Sosak's domain, as it were.
So it's a department within a department?
Yes. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Go ahead, please.
Robert May, 137 Shady Lane. Two things I wanted to just state as to why I believe this is required. One is because if it's in the town meeting warrant and town meeting says so, it'll be followed. If it's in a policy or a procedure, the Board of Selectmen can just ignore it, as they have over the past multiple years, has been pointed out in multiple meetings. So this is why I think it needs to be more than a policy or procedure. It needs to be a written law, a bylaw, or a town meeting vote. It just is, and the number last year, I believe, was $77,000 for the meals tax. And that's grown from $42,000 from the time when we started it back in 2017. And it has been promoted as coming directly from the meals tax and a quid pro quo kind of thing. And we've never been able to get, let's say, that commitment from the board or the town administrator to commit that fund to that financing. That's why we're here now. That's why I'm up here now, because we need to get it done.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Gail Noel, 87 Winchester Street. We did request that the meals tax go toward police vehicles and small highway vehicles a couple of town meetings ago, but it was always put into the general fund. And this article, the original article, is just to establish the fund so we can do what we voted on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Andrew Moser, speaking as a member of advisory. To follow up on the last comment, the reason that this is up in front of town meeting tonight is because we're trying to make sure we get this right. I do agree with the instinct behind the amendment tonight. I'm not sure that right now is the right time to do it. In our discussion that we had in our advisory meetings, we determined that we want to get this done, and it's probably going to take some revising of the financial management policy, the budgeting process, in order to make sure that we do this, and in order to make sure that we do get the meals tax money into an account. The first step is to set up the account. And so we are going to hopefully do that tonight, and then I anticipate at our next town meeting, similar to Article 12 tonight, there'll be another line item that we put the money in to the stabilization fund. And at that point, we can talk about, what does the financial management policy look like? Do we want to make sure we do that every year? But we're trying to do this and get this right now. So I intend to vote no on the amendment tonight, get this account set up, and then get it right going forward.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any more questions on Article 10 as amended? The amendment? On the, what? No. Yeah, the amendment, yeah. Any more questions on the amendment to Article 10? Okay, and this is a 2/3 vote. It is? Oh, the amendment's majority. Okay, I'm sorry, the amendment is a majority. I get confused a little bit. All right, so all in favor of the amendment to Article 10, say yes. 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 All opposed, say no. No. Okay, the amendment to Article 10 failed at 8:19. Okay, so we're back to Article 10 as it was submitted. Are there any questions on Article 10 as it was submitted? Okay, we're going to go to vote. This is a 2/3 vote on Article 10. All in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. No. Okay, Article 10 passed at 8:20. Article 11.
Mr. Moderator, Article 11, FY 2025 capital article, submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Commission. Majority vote required. I move to appropriate the sum of $40,000 and no cents for capital as generally described below. Department, Building and Grounds / Parks and Rec, tractors, to amount $40,000 and to meet said appropriation by a transfer of said sum from certified free cash.
Seconded.
Thank you for the second. Advisory?
Advisory Committee recommends a yes vote on Article 11 by a vote of 5 to nothing.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 11. Go ahead, please.
Candace Graves, 90 Queen Lake Road, Templeton. I'm here on behalf of the Parks and Rec Commission. I'm one of the commissioners and chair. The Parks and Rec Commission would request that you vote yes for this. We currently don't have a tractor to take care of the town parks. We are on a loaner from the DPW department, which is about the age of the one that went. The one we had was unrepairable, and we believe that the loaner will be in the same state. It will not last much longer as well. It had a lot of hours on it, and we count on that to take care of all the parks in the town, and we also do the sweeping of the fields. We have the attachments that we'll be able to fit on this new tractor, so that we'll be able to take and groom all the softball fields and the baseball field that we have, as well as our new t-ball field that we put in this year. So we hope that you vote for it, because otherwise we can't cut the lawn or groom the fields. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Liz Toth, Gray Road. So, first of all, how much money is currently sitting in the capital account?
Okay, does anyone have that's a question, anyone have an answer to that?
Because we haven't had a budget versus actual in 2 months.
Go ahead, if you have an answer.
Adam Lamontagne, Town Administrator. We have reserved for working capital and other town needs, $481,065. We just committed $40,000 for the Baltimore School Extraordinary, and should this pass, it'll be another less capital fall town meeting of $40,000. So we have roughly 300 to 400K, depending on other matters that arise with the town.
Okay. And then second question, if I may,
go
sir.
ahead.
This is submitted for Parks and Rec Commission. It's not Parks and Rec and Buildings and Grounds. I know I'm being nitpicky here, but you had to have a special capital meeting yesterday to take care of some of this stuff. And the way this is presented, it really is saying it's 2 tractors, not one.
Yes, it is 2 tractors.
Right, 2 tractors for Parks and Rec. It's not a tractor for Parks and Rec and a tractor for Buildings and Grounds. And it makes a difference in my mind, because these are both tractors that I believe were purchased 6 years ago. Is that correct?
Does anyone have an answer on that?
We're replacing 6-year-old tractors, is my understanding, and if I'm wrong, I'd like somebody to please correct me.
You're right, actually.
Right, so 6 years, replacing 2 tractors, $20,000 apiece.
What better go to Buildings and Grounds?
Yeah. So, and point of order.
There's no shout out. There's no shouting out, please.
So,
go ahead.
So I have a problem with the way this whole thing's presented. Yes, Parks and Rec needs a new tractor. All right, I understand that. It's broken. But in 6 years, we're having to replace the tractor already? I've got a tractor that's 35 years old. So, are we going to be back here in 6 years again? That is not a sarcastic question. Is this on a 6-year cycle?
Does anyone have an answer to that question?
Well, I do for Parks and Rec.
Just Parks and Rec, yeah.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 on here. So, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? Article 11.
So the tractor in question that Parks and Rec had.
Name, please.
Candace Graves, 90 Queen Lake Road. In Templeton, the Parks and Rec had was replaced because the current one we had a smaller mower deck, and we weren't able to fulfill our obligations to cut the lawns. The one that we were given last year in November to replace it was given to us in November. By the time it went, it couldn't do the full load of all of the parks. It couldn't handle, so I don't know what went through that current one that we had that replaced our smaller mower that we had, what went on with it, how it was taken care of, how it was maintained. Parks and Rec cannot tell you that. All we know is we were given it, it did not make it through the season, we were now given a loaner. We would like to have a new tractor. This tractor will be able to fit the hitch on the back end so that we can groom the fields. It'll be able to cut all the parks' lawns for the town. It will also have what they call a bucket on the front in order for us to get material for all the different locations of the parks. Where currently we do it by wheelbarrow and with shovels, old-fashioned. We currently just hired our second part-time laborer. We had never had a laborer before. We also were never Parks and Rec before, so we are putting our department together, and so having the tractor is a needed thing for our department. When it comes to the loaner, that belongs to the DPW department under the Public Services. That one, like I said, is older. I don't know longevity on that one and how many hours. I was told that the hours are about accessible to what the one we had was. They say that they don't last as long because it's a lot of work when you go and you cut all the lawns in the town and all the different departments. All I know is if that one goes, then we will not have a spare. So if we need a spare for any kind of maintenance or anything like that, the town won't have a spare, and we'll be right back where we started. Parks and Recs, we plan on actually maintaining it every year, taking responsibility in our department, setting up protocols. We're told that we're supposed to take the battery out in the winter so it doesn't freeze and store it. These are the things that we're talking about as a commission and to get it done.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Bob Sozik, Director of Public Services. Just for a little clarification, I'm going on 6 years. When I started, Carter was here. In the first couple of years, we got into rotation of all the mowers and rotating them out, just like you do the police cruisers, to save on maintenance, and where the mowers do put on hundreds of hours in services all over town, the parks. You got bearings, pulleys, everything wears out and the motor starts breaking down. We were on a rotation every year. The last 3 years, we haven't had a mower rotation. Every year since I started, I put on a lawn tractor or a mower. I did submit to capital for mowers for last year and this year. When I send and turn stuff in, it's out of my hands. How it's processed, it's not my doings. So the mower that the Parks and Recs had, when we have a turnover in mowers, in the past, we would surplus them to Parks and Rec for their use, or any other department, sewer, water, whoever. Try to get them to finish out their lives in another department. If not, they go to an auction. I'm asking for a mower. Parks and Recs is asking for a tractor. So there is 2 pieces of equipment on the ballot tonight to vote on. Parks and Recs is a small tractor that'll be universal for their parks, and the mower will be for buildings and grounds, for the commons and all the other areas in town buildings. I hope that helps you clarify the ballot question a little bit. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on Article 11? Okay. We're going to go to vote on Article 11. All in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed say no. Okay. Article 11 passed unanimously at 8:30. Article 12, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 12, deposits to general fund stabilization and OPEB accounts submitted by the Select Board with a majority vote required. I move to appropriate the sum of $270,000 and no cents to make deposits into its operations, OPEX, capital, CAPEX, and infrastructure stabilization accounts and the OPEB reserve accounts as follows. OPEX, $95,000 and no cents. CAPEX, $70,000 and no cents. Infrastructure, $70,000 and no cents. OPEB, $35,000 and no cents, and to meet said appropriation by a transfer of said sum from certified free cash.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Advisory?
Advisory recommends a yes vote on Article 12 by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. I'd like to open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 12. Okay, no questions or comments on Article 12. We'll go to vote. All in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed say no. Okay, Article 12 passed unanimously at 8:32. Article 13, please.
Mr. Moderator, Article 13, affordable housing, water wheel circle, submitted by the Select Board. Majority vote required. I move to recommend that the town purchase property subject to affordable housing deed restrictions and if and when said properties are offered to the town for purchase.
Seconded.
Okay, advisory?
Advisory recommends a no vote on Article 13 with a vote of 4-1.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to open up the floor to questions and comments on Article 13.
Mr. Moderator, Mike Dixon, 465 Patriots Road. I just had a question. With the 4-1 vote on the committee, could we have some explanation about why it was deemed to be negative?
Okay, anyone have an answer?
Go ahead, please. The reason why there was a no vote is that the majority of advisory felt that the town should not be basically a landlord. The town should not manage property. If the town was to acquire this property, would not only have to pay $288,000, but would also have to pay the condo fees. I would like to talk a little bit more about this. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has made affordable housing its top priority. They're devoting about 8% of the budget this year, about $4.1 billion to affordable housing. And quite candidly, this was pushed by a planning body that represented cities and towns inside of Route 128. And another planning body in the Plymouth, Massachusetts area. The basic problem is that the basic problem with this is that it's kind of a top-down edict. The town really has to keep 10% of its housing stock as affordable housing. It ignores the fact that in town we have scores of properties that could be rehabbed into affordable housing. There was no thought given to that. And if we had state monies to rehab the existing distressed properties, we would very easily meet the requirements. This issue is not going to go away. The state is probably going to devote 8% of its budget for affordable housing for years to come. And it's going to have a negative impact on the town. It really is. Because, first of all, residences as opposed to businesses, it's negative to the overall taxes you collect versus, expenditures that you need to have. And while Templeton has, as of the end of 2023, 7.7% of its housing being affordable housing, and with the 54 units to be constructed at the old high school, it will raise the town's compliance to about 9.5%, which is very good. But the problem is that area towns are going to have a lot more trouble. And one of them might be, and I use the word might, it might be Phillipston. They have a very low percentage of their properties categorized as affordable housing. So if the state forced them to build, 50 or 75 units, if there's children, it could impact your tax rate. That's one indirect way that it could affect your tax rate. The Affordable Housing Act, the way it is presently, is really an unfunded mandate from the state. And I just want you to think of that. We do need to keep our affordable housing stock up. It really is the moral thing to do. And I understand, there's very strong reasons against it. But I really want you as members of the town and voters to really think about this issue. Thank you.
Did that help answer your question at all? It did? Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Tim Toth, Gray Road. I'm speaking as a citizen taxpayer. For those who were paying attention, 3 or 4 select board meetings back, one of the articles and items we discussed at said business meeting was reinstating the contract with Peter Sanborn, who coordinates with the Mass CHAPA office, and I'm sorry, I don't remember what that acronym means. They're the folks who are watchdogs over our affordable housing. One of the items that came up was we had a first right of refusal on the property at 24 Water Wheel Circle. Historically, we have not acted on first rights of refusal. We give it away. Why is that significant? Take a look on Patriots Road, the old tavern, right at the Gardner line. We had a pie-sliced piece of land. We gave it away, first rights of refusal. The property sold. A bunch of houses went up, benefited Gardner greatly. The tavern was supposed to have been purchased and rehabbed as a historical building, yet to happen. And we just have a history of repeating that. So this was an opportunity, one, to stay with our affordable housing. Let's not lose one on our less than 5% number, give or take. Let's start bolstering it. But secondarily, we need to set the precedent and start paying attention to what's going on. Seated on the board, sometimes my decisions are tough. I have to make decisions in the best interest of 8,200 plus or minus people. That's why I push to get this put on, and I would seriously ask people to consider this. There's a follow-up motion I'll be presenting right behind this.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Terry Griffiths, 12 Drury Lane, speaking as a resident. So I would urge caution. I do agree it's the moral thing to do to provide affordable housing and to meet the state requirements, but having a grown adult daughter and son-in-law that went through the affordable housing process, I'm not exactly sure that it's a good idea for the town to take this property, because they have to sign a contract when they got their affordable home. There's a lottery. They missed the first lottery. They have to sign a contract to say that they will keep that house and sell it as an affordable house. So their first sale has to be as an affordable home. They can't just list it on the market for a profit. So Peter Sanborn sent us an email to say that my daughter looked up, showed me all the contracts and everything that the state has in place. So I would encourage us to do a little more work and proceed with caution and read, because the program is in place to keep affordable housing in a town so that a town doesn't have to take it over. And I'm sorry, I'm just a little nervous. So again, it stays in affordable housing. This particular water wheel property, she looked it up, and it was off, sorry.
Point of order, go ahead.
We're working on the previous article, not the one.
Okay, so, again, there is state laws in place, basically, to keep affordable housing as affordable housing without the town getting involved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other
Moderator?
questions or comments on Article 13?
Mr. Moderator?
Go ahead.
Very briefly, Matthew Rivard, Select Board. I just want to remind everyone, when we're looking at Article 13, please understand that this is a non-binding question. This is basically just us polling you and asking you what your thought process is on this particular topic, okay? So please keep that in mind when we're looking at this article. There's no action to be taken on Article 13. It is literally just us polling the town or this meeting to determine what the thought process is for the topic.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Moderator. Janice LaFave, 140 Bridge Street. I'm a little confused because Article 13 says affordable housing / water wheel circle, but in
No, 13 doesn't say anything about Waterville. 14 is the...
It says it on the top.
Does it? Oh, okay. All right, because 13 and 14 are linked.
That's why I'm confused, because on Article 13, then we're not talking about, the Day Mill water wheel. We're just talking about in general in town if a property becomes available and is offered. Is that correct?
Good catch. Could you have an answer for that? Please.
Matt Rivard, Select Board. Yeah? Oh. Sorry, having a connection issue up here. Matt Rivard, Select Board. You're absolutely right. We're talking right now, again, as I just said, we're talking in general terms right now. Okay, this is a poll question, basically. It is just us polling the room, polling the town meeting to say, do you want us to look at this, or do you want us to not look at this? Okay?
Thank you.
Water wheel circle up conversation.
Thank you.
Correct. Water wheel circle with the trigger for the conversation, but this is just it's a poll question right now.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Moderator, Robert May, 137 Shady Lane. My only point I wanted to make was that back a few years ago, town meeting voted to put $17,500 in an account to set up just this issue, to set up an affordable housing plan so that we could take these properties. Somewhere along the line, and I can't find it in the meeting minutes, but somewhere along the line, the money was rescinded. And I believe this came as a shock to multiple people here on the boards and committees. But nothing was ever done in a number of years. And this has been the first time that I think we've faced this issue since. And we're back to ground zero where we were when actually Carter was here. So that gives you an idea of the time frame. I don't want to be back here at ground zero again, because these right of first refusals are going to come up, and we're still sitting here twiddling our thumbs on a non-binding motion that has to pass for us to go to 14, and then to vote on it. I guess my concern is that we have a lot of misinformation, because if I remember correctly too, Mr. Sanborn, who runs CHAPA, who brought this forward before the select board, said that if we purchased and we retained the right of first refusal, that the property would probably sell before we even had the ink dry for affordable housing. So that takes away all the fees, all the other things. The property is just gone, sold to another affordable housing person, because there's plenty of them out there that can't afford the $400,000 house that is the average around here now. So I think this needs to be promoted. I think we need to do this because, as was stated by Mr. Francis over here, the state's pushing this. And 10% is their recommended minimum, and even with the BES project, we're not at 10%. So I don't think we can afford to be losing all these first right of refusals. And I suggest we vote yes on both.
All right, thank you. You were next, please.
Thank you. Julie Kibbe, Lord Road. I just have a question on whether or not there's a penalty for not meeting the 10% marker from the state.
Do you have an answer, Noel?
The basic penalty.
Name, please. And
Noel Francis, 14 State Road. The basic penalty is you could change the face of your town without the town having any say over it. And I'll give you the example of my own property. I own 1.9 acres of land in a 1 acre zoned area. Theoretically, under the new law, I could sell a 9/10 acre lot that does not meet the zoning acreage requirement. And that lot would also not meet the 150-foot frontage requirement. But under this act is a developer, should I choose to sell that slice of my property, a developer could go to the planning board and say, I'm going to build affordable housing. You need to waive these requirements. And you can waive, to a certain extent, those requirements can be waived. So what you can end up with is the town no longer will have full control over its zoning. And that could be detrimental because you could have a 2 acre lot that meets zoning and yet be next to a lot that might be considerably less, and yet it would have, housing built on it. And so that's a question that could arise.
Okay, based on what you just said, I think there is a lot of investigation that still needs to be done. So I think my vote for this question, this article, is going to be yes, to allow the board to look into what is all included. I think that there is probably a situation with Article 14 where there are, there's an argument to be made that it's only one unit, right? And it doesn't actually really develop the town's 10%, but we're not there yet. So my personal preference is to vote yes to allow them to investigate, and then we'll deal with Article 14.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Are you all set?
I just want to add one comment. I mean, my fellow board members oppose this, and I don't want to undercut what they did. I will say it is something that should be thought about strategically, and I think the members of the select board, place this on the warrant article in order to try to think strategically about this very important issue. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Hi. Jessica Case, 294 Otter River Road. I have one question. It says the non-binding question to see if the town will vote to recommend that the town purchase properties. Who's the town? Is that a multiple departmental effort, or is this like a new hired position that somebody's going to be solely responsible for affordable housing?
Which article are you on? Because
13.
We're on Article 13.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It's the first sentence, a non-binding question to see if the town will vote to recommend that the town purchase property, subject, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just asking, who is the town? Is it a multiple departmental
Somebody answer
effort
that,
to do
please.
this, or is this going to be like a new position, like the affordable housing person?
Mr. Moderator?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Adam Montaigne, Town Administrator. It would be the town of Templeton, but the town would definitely have to look at hiring an affordable housing coordinator. For particularly all the work that this entails. We get work from Peter Sanborn.
Yeah.
But this would entail a significant amount of resources and a person dedicated just to do this for the town of Templeton. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
My name is George Andrews, Baldwinville Road. Could you move the question, please?
Okay. Okay. All right, we have a vote on move the question. All in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed say no. No. Okay, we're moving the question. That passed at 8:50. Okay, we're going to vote on Article 13. All in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. No. Okay, that was close, but I'm going to say Article 13 failed at 8:51. Failed. Failed. Motion to dissolve? All right, can I get a motion to dissolve?
Motion to dissolve.
Can I get a second?
Point of order. There's one
Yes.
more article that needs to be discussed.
No, 13 had to pass to go to 14.
It's still on the warrant. It still needs to be.
It says that it has to pass.
Pass it then.
So, okay, so we have a motion to dissolve. Can I get a second? Second. Okay, all in favor, say yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. Okay, this meeting is over at 8:52. Thank you.